Ready? Let's see if this is going to work now. It says we're live. Let me go to YouTube and confirm. Oh, yes.
There we go.
It worked.
We're in business.
All right, y'all. If anyone is watching, waiting, listening, I apologize for the delay. We are just running a little behind. I had a little trouble, with the platform that is new and I had to learn to use. So welcome to another Women's MTB Network podcast. It's been a minute, y'all. We've been in a little hiatus. It's a much needed hiatus that I've had. Myself, Candace, Sierra, and Amanda, Becca, we've all taken the summer off, and it's been a really good thing. So here at That's Podcast, if you're familiar with us, it's the show we dive deep into stories and strategies of people moving the needle for women in mountain biking. Well, in cycling as a whole, you know how it goes. Today, though, we have a really special guest on right now, Mr. Aaron Lutze. Am I pronouncing that right, Aaron?
Nailed it. That's perfect.
Yes. I'm big about pronouncing people's names right because, it's their name, right? You got to get it right. So Aaron is the creative force. He's a creative beast, someone you really need to get to know here. I've known Aaron for a little bit, and everything from his early work at Red Bull to launching a successful YouTube channel, the Super Rider TV. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to put the link here in the show notes. You have to go subscribe to him on YouTube. He also co-hosts the Second Nature podcast, which is all about outdoor brands and creators. And then recently, he now co-founded a brand new venture, which is the Outdoor Brand Camp. It's all about helping outdoor creators and brands connect, learn, and grow. Not only that, Aaron has worked directly with athletes. He's helped launch careers. Can someone say Kate Courtney? And he has consistently elevated voices that don't always get the spotlight, especially women in our sport. So today I'm really honored to have Aaron for round 2 of our podcast because we've tried doing this before. And we're going to dive into everything he wants to share with us, everything from content, how he approaches that, community, representation, and really what's next for the future of storytelling in this ever-changing world. So Aaron, again, thank you for joining me. I'm excited to have you.
That was probably the best intro I think I've ever. That was incredible.
I try.
You set the bar really high. I hope I don't disappoint.
No, not at all. You are a great human being. So we were chatting a little bit before. We're going to dive into everything I want to get out of you today because there's a lot to cover. But you were just in China for a really big trip, right?
Yeah, I just got back from my second trip to China in like the last 3 months, and it's been kind of a long time coming. I'll give you the full backstory.
Yes, please.
I met these guys at Sea Otter 2 years ago, and
Okay.
they were looking for a content creator to partner with who created content that was sort of for beginner, intermediate riders to help them build control and confidence on bikes so that the mountain bike scene could continue to grow in China. Yeah. I was like, I'm definitely the right person for you to partner with. Not only did I have the content side of things, but I've been to China a bunch of times. My father-in-law was born in China. My kids speak Mandarin. Like, we have been over there so many times, and we still have family that's over there. So for me, China was sort of a, place that I was really familiar with. And I recognized also the opportunity of, oh, this would be really incredible if we had the opportunity to explore China, because I've stood on top of the Great Wall and I've looked.
Oh, you have?
Of course. And I've looked all over the, from the Great Wall, being like, there's gotta be trails back there. There has to be, And so for somebody to offer up this, hey, do you want to like start speaking to this audience? Do you want to help them develop and grow the scene and the sport?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? And so about 2 years ago, I started working with this team over there to take the content that I was making here for YouTube and Instagram and everything. And what they did was they basically took my content, put Chinese subtitles over it. And then not only that, but they were doing the responses. So if somebody had a question about like technique or whatever, the people that I was working with were good enough that they could actually explain what I was saying, and they'd be able to like help the riders connect the dots between that stuff. So
Yeah.
basically 2 years has gone by of us working together, and all the content that you see on my YouTube channel and Instagram goes over on the 9 different social media platforms that exist in China. And
Wow.
you may not know that in China, they don't have YouTube and Instagram. They have Bilibili, they have WeChat, they have Red Note, they
Ah,
have their own stuff. It's kind of like there's this
okay.
giant firewall.
I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So, it was like a really cool opportunity where they have gotten some stuff trickling through, but they haven't really gotten like the tutorial lessons in the same
Hmm.
way. And so this was my opportunity to like impact another community of riders on the way up and hopefully do some good stuff. But also as a content creator, like discovered
Unlimited.
territory over
Yeah.
there. Like I haven't seen a whole lot of content. So basically this year at Sea Otter, they came over, we created a bunch of specific content for my Chinese social media channels about like the
Hmm.
brands that have been supporting me and stuff like that. And then the team was like, you need to come over to China. You need to see like firsthand, and you also need to do something that makes the audience know that you're not just copy pasting stuff here, but you're intentionally that you actually care about China and that you're down.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm
Yeah.
absolutely down for that. So I did a 10-day trip over there at the beginning of June, and we
Uh-huh.
got to do everything from riding in some of the trails out there to flying in flying cars
I
to
saw that. You
yeah.
texted me that video. I was like, what is happening?
It was so crazy.
And then you
Uh,
went underwater too. You went in a car. Like, didn't
yeah.
you go like submerged? Oh my God.
Yeah, there was an amphibious SUV that we got to ride into, and it's just like the
So
future
cool.
in so many ways over there. But honestly, like the big highlight for me, I got to ride that new Avinox motor that DJI had a big hand in developing.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
had this like underground test facility underneath DJI's global headquarters. So you walk
Wow.
into this like crazy futuristic building,
Yeah.
and then they take you underneath the building. Actually, you walk past a Tim Hortons on the way there, which is like super disorienting. Um, but but then you're in the basement of this like super futuristic building, and they open up these 2 giant metal doors, and it's this indoor bike park that's just loaded with all these different like climbs. There's a super rooty one, there's one with loose dirt, there's one with tons of rocks, there's like a rock garden. And then they hand you this test bike, and they're like, yeah, this like we've been riding here and testing this, and other brands come and test their suspension here and stuff. But it's this
Wow.
giant facility in the basement of a global headquarters of a tech brand, basically.
So if you need an assistant next time you go to China, I will go for free. So you just tell me. I'll be there.
It's really cool. I mean, I've been there twice this year, and I really feel like we just scratched the surface. And I feel like the community over there is really excited to see, the attention and us coming over there. We're working on some events that are going to happen where we're going to try to bring more riders. My best case scenario is to just be the gateway to be able to
Yeah.
introduce the riders from over here to what's available over there, because they are trying. There's like bike parks starting to pop up, and there's riders starting to pop up and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
also, wouldn't it be cool to be the gateway to bring riders over there and do
Oh, yeah.
collaborations and do, exploration and discovery and stuff? I just feel like, oh, it's unlimited.
Yeah, that's incredible, dude. Like, and selfishly, I'm like putting my hand up because my doctor says I'll be able to ride in January. I saw him today for pre-op, and he's like, you should be able to ride by January. So if you're going in January and you need an assistant,
I mean, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of trips coming up over there, which is exciting. I mean, that's what I want. I want to be able to go new places and explore
yeah,
stuff. And I
yeah,
feel like, I'm doing a lot of content that's based around tutorial content, like how to ride your bike,
mhm,
but I'd love to do
mhm,
more where to ride your bike, or
yeah,
just like straight up. This is just discovery. I want to go see something new, and I want to show something new.
yeah, yeah, and that's what, mountain biking is all about at the end of the day too. You have an incredible following over on Super Rider TV on your YouTube channel. And if anyone is listening right now, if you're live, like open a new tab, go to YouTube again, put Super Rider on there. Super Rider TV is Aaron's actual handle. And he's got everything on that channel, including how-tos, which are incredibly helpful. I still can't wheelie. I know I've seen your video like a million times, but I will keep trying to learn to wheelie. But let's talk about that a little bit, because for folks that aren't familiar with you, can you walk us through a little bit about your path from Red Bull to Super Rider to Second Nature to now outdoor brand? Like, you've had a long career, and it's a very interesting one. So you started off at Red Bull,
Sure.
right?
Um, I think it might be useful to talk about the pre-Red Bull era, because I think that sets up some of the other stuff
Yes, 100%.
that I kind of got into. Red Bull really kind
Yeah.
of put me in a position to pour fuel on the fire for sure. My background was, I grew up in Wisconsin, where there's not, at the time, there definitely wasn't mountain biking. There is some mountain
Mhm.
biking there now, but like not not the way it is. And I was really short and unathletic. And long story short, I discovered trials, and
That's right.
trials was like the great equalizer for me, because I was not a very physically fit kid. I was very small. I was the smallest kid in my class.
Oh man.
I couldn't keep up with my friends that were riding cross country, I guess is the main point. And
Mhm.
when I found trials, just sort of randomly, I realized that like technique was sort of the great equalizer. And all of a sudden I could develop technique on two wheels that would allow me to, catch up to my friends, or would give me the upper hand, or would give me a skill that would take them a really long time to catch up on. And
Yeah.
I kind of found my lane. And during that era, this was like 90s. And so YouTube definitely didn't exist in this era.
No.
In fact, the way that I learned to ride trials, because there weren't other trials riders in Wisconsin at the time either, I would get a VHS tape and I would plug it into my TV. And I would, at that point, you could like pause and then pause again, and it would go like a couple
Yep.
frames forward. I would
Yeah.
watch Hans Ray videos. I would watch
Wow.
the European trials videos frame by frame, dissecting and trying to figure out, where is their body on the bike? What are they doing with their brakes? What else is happening here? And you would just scan the entire frame to figure out what changed from this frame to that frame. And then when you figured out what that was, you would race outside, or in my case, in the winter in Wisconsin, I would go into the basement of my parents' house or in the garage. And then you would try to mimic that and see if you could get it to do the same thing. And
Yeah.
maybe it worked, maybe it wouldn't. Then you go back upstairs, rewind frame by frame by frame to go through it, and rinse and repeat for like multiple years before I could actually do a lot of the trial stuff. So like things that
Dude.
you could learn in like an hour on my channel right now probably took me like 18 months to learn. And
Jeez.
that was my introduction to learning and developing skills on two wheels. So
Right.
if you draw a straight line to being a mountain bike tutorial channel on YouTube, it's, if you look at my style of how I explain stuff, I explode out the skill into like 50 different elements. Well, maybe that's a little aggressive, but like I break it down in a way where it's like, here's exactly what you do with your brake. Here's exactly what you do with your front foot. Here's what your ankle is going to do. Here's where
Yeah.
your chest is going to be, your hips are going to be. And that's a direct extension from me in high school and college watching stuff frame by frame by frame, because that's how I learned. And I feel like if you can master all the individual parts, you can then start to put them together. And that's where the practice makes progress thing comes together.
And that's key, because people don't really seem to understand, and by people I mean me, and I'm also generalizing, the amount of technique that goes into mountain biking in general, and how trials really sets you up for that.
Mm.
Like, I've watched you ride, I've watched Jeff Lanowski ride, and I'm just like, how do you guys do this stuff? Like, that's just insane. And to the point of the, even like your ankles, people don't realize how much ankle mobility you need to mountain bike. Not just trials, just
Yeah.
mountain bike in general. Hence the issue that I still have with my ankle. But so you started trials. Did you compete?
Oh yeah. 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 I competed with Jeff Lanowski for a long time. And
Please
yeah,
tell me you beat him. No, I'm just kidding.
no, not even close. He was pro when I was like, sport and expert. Like I was still coming up, but we did actually ride a lot of demos together. And I definitely credit Jeff for really kind of getting me on the right path, especially when it came to understanding sponsorships and everything like that. So
Yeah, yeah,
he had a big impact on my career. Yeah. So I mean,
yeah.
that was really kind of the beginning, and so as a trials writer, that was like my identity for a long time. And even in college, I was the trials writer, the guy on campus hopping on and off of logs and rocks and stuff like that. And in fact, my college roommate is the one who was like, "Hey, I know you. You're the guy that rides all over campus. Can I go out with you sometime and like film you? I've got like editing software on my
What?
computer." And so, like the first week of school that year, we went and shot some stuff, and then we went back and he edited it. And I was like, "You got to teach me how to do this." And that was
That's
where
cool.
like it all clicked for me in terms of like making stuff. And so fast forward a lot from there, I ended up filming a lot more. We created a video magazine called Match Video Zine, which was like the earliest days of free ride,
Uh-huh.
where, like Seminuk was just coming on the scene as like a 14-year
Yeah.
old kid. Like I was there for that era because I was
Wow.
making this video magazine that had come from me in my college dorm room with my buddy. And then, I developed a skill of filming and editing. On top of that, I also got involved with a company called Freecaster, which, if you know anything about the UCI live stream, of course, Red Bull TV had it for a long time. But before Red Bull
Mm-hmm.
TV, the first team to really get the thing up and running and to hire Rob Warner and bring him into the mix was actually Freecaster. And
Yeah.
so I was going around doing a lot of video production work. I'd kind of like moved away from trying to like follow this dream of being a pro rider. I'd
Mm-hmm.
actually started creating content, and that Freecaster stuff is really the foundation of the UCI World Cup live stream, where I'd show up in whatever country with Rob. We'd film a
Yeah.
bunch of interviews during practice. Then he would go psycho for the live, and I'd be like editing all the interviews, and we'd be posting all that stuff on Freecaster. And eventually, I got a job at Red Bull, and then Red Bull took over, where
Yeah.
Freecaster basically left off, and then sort of the rest is history there. And then
Kind of.
yeah, went into the Red Bull world and took it from there.
Oh yeah, we've got someone in the chat saying Aaron is an OG trials rider.
Right.
Yeah, he is. Well, I mean, when someone say OG, you're not old. You're just like that first generation.
Oh, the O stands
Bring it
for
up.
original, doesn't it? Original gangster.
Yeah, it does. I just have a joke amongst me and my brothers. We call it old instead of old gangster. Anyway, it's just a thing. But that really is incredible. So that's how you got your foot in the door with Red Bull, I guess,
Mhm.
right? Go ahead.
The person who founded Freecaster was actually the original athlete marketing director at Red Bull. And if the lore that I heard is correct, he's actually the guy who came up with the idea of the Red Bull helmet. And what
What?
what was interesting, because of course I asked him about it,
Yeah.
the way he talked about it, he was like, "Oh, yeah, well, the thing is, like, a lot of people that we're sponsoring, they can't hold on to a can of Red Bull while they're doing their sport. They're holding on to handlebars or parachutes or whatever. And so we needed to find a way to visually represent how we partner with them. And what we think about is like Red Bull is on their mind. So if it's on their
Yeah.
mind, well, then it should be on their mind. And that's how the helmet
Wow.
exists right there. It's like them thinking about Red Bull, right?
Yeah.
That's how,
That's
yeah.
genius marketing. As we know, Red Bull has a really good marketing team. So that's like
Yeah.
mind
I was
blowing.
so lucky to have mentors like that. It just, when I got to Red Bull, it was like such a crazy time. And I'd had enough information to be dangerous from the outside, from working on Red Bull projects, from going to Red Bull events. It was like such a natural next step in evolution for me. But I didn't start in the athlete marketing world. I actually started in field marketing, where you have to kind of get good at everything. So I was doing like music events, collegiate stuff, running the sampling teams. Like you really have to do everything when you first get in the door,
Yeah.
to sort of like prove yourself, and
Yeah.
then you're able to specialize from there. So I was at Red Bull, see, for like 5 or 6 years before I got the keys to athlete marketing.
Wow. The keys. Oh man, we're going to unpack that. Did you want to go in that direction, or was just an opportunity that was presented to you? Was like working with athletes always something that you wanted to eventually do?
Oh yeah, from day one. I mean, I think part of it was when I applied for that role specifically, they're like, you could have any of these jobs. You could be in culture marketing, you could be wherever. And I think the really interesting thing and why it was so important for me to be a generalist at first was that when I got into that athlete role, I had such a better kind of overview of the company. I knew what could be done and who to talk to
Right.
in different departments that you could
Mm-hmm.
then take an athlete and be like, ooh, let's take you over to my guy in media house who used to do the music side of things, but is now in charge of action sports or whatever. Or,
Yeah.
hey, I worked with the social team and they did this. So maybe we could do this. And so I was sort of plugged in beyond the sports and athlete world. And I could
Yeah.
then kind of put those two things together once I got into that role, which I think made me effective.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I mentioned Kate Courtney early on. She's just one of very many women in the sport that I mean, Rebecca Rush is another really big one that you were
Yeah.
around. And I remember first chatting with you and you're telling me about the first inspirations of folks in mountain biking to you were women. Like Missy Giove was a really big one for you, right? Like I
Yeah.
loved hearing that because you don't normally associate that. You think, oh, it was the dudes that got women into this. It's like, no, in your case, it was the other way around.
Yeah. My first three heroes in mountain biking were Missy Giove, Lee Donovan, and Julie Furtado.
Oh
And,
God, legends.
that all legends and still I've been lucky enough to cross paths with Lee a lot of times, which is still like that I
It's
try
crazy.
so hard not to go into hero worship
I
mode.
know. I
But I mean,
know.
yeah, I mean, I grew up like reading stories and watching videos and I mean, I think what was really interesting about that time was that we all were reading the same magazines, like the social media, you can kind of choose your own adventure of what kind of experience you want to have in mountain biking now. But back
Yeah.
then, there were like three magazines and they were all
Yeah.
writing about the same races and the same riders and stuff. And so I feel like in a way it was easier to really focus in on the riders that were the most interesting or doing the best stuff or the most exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And all three of those riders had like such cool stories and such, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like hard not to be huge fans of all three of those.
Well, I haven't met Julie Furtado yet. I would love to. But I did get a chance to speak a lot with Lee, and she's just incredible. She's a fun person to be around, but just like you, like I get a little starstruck. I don't know, like you know what I mean? And she's such a humble human being. She gives two F's about nothing. She's just like, hey, you want to go ride? She hit me up last month and she's like, hey, I'm going to be in SoCal. You want to hang out? You want to go for a ride? And I was dying inside being like, I can't ride my bike right now. But yeah, incredible human being. I'm going to touch really quickly on something. I think Trail Surfer asked if that's a Rampage picture behind you. And I don't know if it is Rampage or
Oh yeah, this one right here.
Formation. Yeah.
This right here is Red Bull Rampage. This is Carson Storch's 360 drop that basically,
Ooh.
set the rest of his career in motion, that he won best trick that year. He got third
Yeah.
place overall. Yeah, that was a really, really important moment. And to give you a little backstory into why that
Yes.
moment was so important, the year before at Rampage, I had actually intended to give him his Red Bull helmet at Rampage right before the event started. And we had just signed him right beforehand. Everything was like the ink was drying on the contract. In fact, I actually flew to LA and drove to Santa Barbara where his helmet was being finished because they hand paint
Wow.
every single one. So I
Yeah.
landed in LA to drive to Santa Barbara to pick it up and then drive it to Utah. And as I landed that morning in LA, I get a text from Carson that he had crashed and hurt his ankle or something and was out
Oh.
of the event. So then I was like, oh, okay, well, now I'm going to drive 12 hours to give you a helmet that you're not even going to use. Sweet.
But
And
hey, he probably appreciated that.
yeah, well, I mean, I mean, helmet, when you do the helmet handoff for Red Bull, that's the peak moment for any athlete manager every single time. And I remember talking to a lot of athletes, managers being like, savor that moment because the end of that where you take the helmet back is really terrible. And so you better, make the
Wait,
most of that moment.
you take the helmet back?
No,
once
but I
you're
mean,
no longer.
like in essence, right? Like when the contract is done and you're no longer working together, which,
Yeah.
in Red Bull's case, like most athletes are on brand for like a decade ish.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
not whatever, but like as things go, you have to make room for like the new up and coming riders to get
Yeah.
their wings, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I feel like, yeah, you have to really like savor that moment, because there will be a moment in your career where you have to potentially, we call it graduate, an athlete that, it just, oh, it's such a bummer. But
But
it's necessary part of the life cycle. Every brand, has
yeah,
life cycles with
100%.
athletes.
So, what are some of the, again, I only touched on two of your female athletes, but what are some of the athletes that stand out to you, the female athletes in particular, that moment where you got to like hand this over, like let's do Kate Courtney as an example. How was that moment?
Kate's was really special, and usually we try to get another athlete to do it, because like, who am I? I'm just
I
like,
mean, you're
I'm
a
a
pretty
red.
special human being,
I'm
but
like, but in the context of their sport, I'm a keyboard
right,
warrior who works at a really cool brand, you know, versus like the rider they've been looking up to for their entire life, like Rebecca
right,
Rush or something like that.
right,
And
right.
so we really try hard to like find that athlete that has been a source of inspiration. And maybe that athlete has kind of vouched for this new athlete to get signed or whatever else. And so we had an event in LA, and it was actually like exactly what it was about. It's kind of like a women's summit, like both Red Bull employees as well as like stakeholders and stuff. And they brought in a bunch of athletes and inspirational people. And Rebecca was speaking at the event. And so we invited Kate to come and join. And so Rebecca actually presented Kate with her helmet, which was like such a cool
Wow.
moment.
That's such a cool moment.
I actually think one of my favorite helmet moments was Hannah Bergman when she got her helmet. And we had Michelle Parker, Jill Kentner and Michelle did it. But if you know Hannah, she actually grew up both freeride mountain biking and also skiing. And
Yeah.
so, Michelle does mountain bike and ski, but like she
Yeah.
was a huge source of inspiration for Hannah, as well as Jill. And what was so special about that was what Michelle said to Hannah in the moment. And I think it really resonated, because she said, you know, I'm probably going to butcher it now, but it was like, this isn't expectation that you're going to do something incredible. This is validation that you already have.
Wow. Oh my God. I literally just got the chills.
Yeah.
No joke.
Michelle's great like that. But like,
Holy
really,
cow.
like it's not like Red Bull giving her a helmet was like, all right, now you better, throw it down. Like she was
Yeah.
already awesome.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
we're just like, yeah, okay, now let's go do some stuff.
Oh, wow, dude. I seriously just got chills right now. That's incredible. And, speaking of Hannah, I am super excited that she's at Red Bull Rampage this year.
Yeah.
She missed out last year, had a deep ankle issue, but now she's back and I can't wait to see it. I won't be there, unfortunately, in person. Amanda will be there covering it, but I cannot wait to see that. So let's talk a little bit about like the marketing side of things, because then that kind of bleeds into what you're doing now, and it ties into Super Rider too. But so Red Bull does have this reputation for being cutting edge in content and athlete marketing. What's some of the things that you learned when you were there that still influences you today, like that you still use as
Hmm.
that marketing strategy? Sorry, that's kind of a bit
That's
of a
a big
hard
one.
question.
No, that's a big question. I mean, it's funny. Like, I think I was in my role and, working with somebody like Rebecca, I was always just trying to be additive in a way where, how could I bring something new into her orbit that would be useful? How could I be the
Mhm.
extra 1%? And I think like the lesson that I got to learn and kind of practice while I was there was bringing value to relationships. And, there's of course like a paycheck with Red Bull. Of course, there's, the prestige of wearing the helmet or whatever. But like what
Mhm.
Red Bull actually does is they bring long-term value to the athletes and the people that are around the brand too. You don't even have to be a Red Bull athlete to benefit from Red Bull, I think, in a pretty meaningful way. And
Right.
so how do you continue to bring value? So, for an athlete, it's pretty straightforward. They've got the Red Bull Athlete Performance Center where they can come and get stronger, fitter, faster, whatever. There's, Red Bull Media House where they can create
Mhm.
content around these athletes. Like there's so many different ways other than a helmet and a paycheck that Red Bull adds value to their athletes and their partners, programs. And so how might you do that for other people? How might you show up in their orbit to do the same thing? And I would say that the stuff that was most meaningful for most of the athletes had nothing to do with money. It was more about just finding other ways to be valuable, whether it was making a connection, opening a door, pointing somebody in a new, light to something that they weren't thinking about yet. That
Mhm.
stuff is, a lot of times free, but it
Yeah.
made the biggest difference. And I don't know, I'm just sort of this mindset of if you do those things, everything else kind of works out. And I think that's sort of what I still follow when it comes to Super Rider or Second Nature or anything else. It's
Yeah.
if we just kind of try to add value to other people, it's going to come around full circle at some point.
I mean, again, you're giving me goosebumps because it's true. It's true. Like putting the good out there, you get the good back, and it turns into a friendship and an investment depending on who you're doing that with. I just think, Red Bull is such a powerhouse that you can learn so much from them, like you said, and it's free. The way they go about doing marketing, the way they go about influencing things. One little bit of a sore subject, I don't think it's a sore subject anymore, was the whole formation thing, but that's in the past and we're here now. I know that you were involved with that, and that's pretty freaking amazing. So are you going to go to Rampage this year now that it's officially women and men in one competition?
I'm still TBD on it right now. I would love to go. Yeah, I mean, having been there from the early days of all that stuff, I think
Yeah.
what's so cool to see, of course, women riding Rampage is incredible. And I think it was Vea said something last year where she was talking about, she referenced some other riders. She's like, I can't wait for them to ride Rampage in a couple years. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's right. In a couple
Yeah.
more years, there's going to be even more riders,
Mhm.
that that gave me goosebumps. Oh, it's
Yeah.
this is working. And I think what's the most important thing about it is yes, Rampage is awesome, and I'm so glad that this happened. I'm also really thankful that Formation happened because I think both of these things have contributed to the additional growth beyond both events, where you've
Mhm.
seen riders connect with each other and then go off and create another thing, whether it's a jump jam or a video project or a
Yeah.
backyard setup or another event. I think that is the stuff that needed also to happen.
Mhm.
Not just Red Bull Rampage, not just
Yeah.
Red Bull Formation, but Dark Horse Jump Jam or whatever else.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the stuff that needs to exist to allow everyone to continue to grow and for talent ID to happen and for additional content and for additional exposure and additional opportunities. Not every brand in mountain biking can sponsor Red Bull Rampage. So give them more surface area, give them a jump jam that they can support on a lower level because not every mountain bike company, especially right now, is ponying up to have their name on Red Bull Rampage, right?
Yeah.
But could they come in at a slightly lower level to support a jump jam or another slope style event or something else like that? You're creating more opportunities for more people to be involved. And I think not just from the rider side, but from the brand side of things and from the media side of things. And I feel like that's so important too.
Yeah, 100%. There's Thunderstruck just happened this weekend over in the East Coast. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's similar to Jump Jam where it's for women and they can come and compete and progress and do all these lines. And this year um was really incredible. The turnout was huge. And KJ, who puts it on, I'm gonna have her on the pod too to talk about it, but she had sponsors. I think Red Bull had a part in that. I don't want to speak out of turn. But there were some pretty big sponsors that helped her at that level to put that on there and bring media and bring women photographers to document all of that too. So you're right, like all of that level. I think it's growing so much. The one issue I have is brands just need to see the value in it. Oh, did I lose you, Aaron?
What just happened? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hold on.
We're all
Sorry.
having technical difficulties today. No, don't be sorry. It's all good.
Okay. Are we back? Let's see.
No. It's just my face on there.
Oh boy.
That's all right. You know what happens?
Can you hear me at least?
Yeah, I can totally
Okay.
hear you.
Okay.
You're still there.
Let me try to do one thing really fast.
He's going to come back, folks. Stand by. Okay. There we go.
Okay.
You're back.
This camera is like great until it's not. Sometimes it just completely cuts out. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. You are back. Here we go. Let's start again. No, I'm just kidding. So I want to touch a little bit on, from your perspective, you've been in this industry a long time in various roles and various different hats. You've worked with people from all over the world. So from your perspective, how has the representation of women in indoor and action sports media evolved over the years? Like how have you seen that, and what improvements do you think we could still make? And we touched on it just now, like different examples of how the sport can progress, right? But how have you seen it evolve?
I think in general, the ability for everyone to kind of take control of their own narrative is probably one of the most important developments that we've seen over the past 5 years. Right? Like your ability to really become a storyteller with Instagram, with YouTube, with everything like that. Whereas in the past, you were sort of reliant on print media, websites, like editors somewhere had a say if you showed up or not. You could be writing your heart out. You could be winning even and still not really get the shine that you deserved. And the tools that you now have across all sports and even beyond, right? Like you don't even need to be competing to be able to build an audience and to be relevant and to impact the community.
Yeah.
These abilities to, really like these permissionless abilities to create content and build meaningful audiences and communities. I think that's the most meaningful thing that's happened. I mean, if I go back to when I was at Red Bull, when I first started in athlete marketing, I actually had equal men and women on my roster. And, we had all kinds of opportunities to work with both of them and do all kinds of stuff. So like, I wouldn't say that honestly, like I bet if you looked at the mix of athletes on the roster, it probably hasn't changed that much. But again, Red Bull in that era was making their own content and really focusing on the athletes and telling the stories. I mean, my first film project that I did there was Blood Road with Rebecca Rush.
Nice.
And so we were always, and to be truthful, I feel like a lot of the women athletes that we represented and even beyond were multidimensional in a way that there was more storytelling to be done. There was more to it. When, the pandemic hit, the first project that I did, the first athlete project I did was with Jill Kintner and all of her art, because she's this insane artist.
Yeah.
And she had something else to do besides racing and another story to tell. And then we went even further with that whole artwork side of things. And so I think like the depth that a lot of the women bring to the table beyond just the racing is so cool and so, there's so much surface area to work with when it comes to storytelling. And now that we have these abilities to do exactly that, how cool,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And one thing you said to me a while ago that really resonated was that, and I think this kind of goes towards the outdoor brand camp that you created, or the idea, maybe it stemmed from something like this, where you had said that these athletes don't understand the power they have to influence their own brand, to make their own brand now with social media.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing some writers do that. Like they're doing their own YouTube videos. They're doing their own marketing or brand. They are creating them as a brand instead of relying on brands. Right. So kind of leading into that worked out well, because that wasn't what I wanted to lead into. But now I do want to lead into the outdoor brand camp. And what is the gap that you're trying to fill in the outdoor space with that? Like, tell us a little bit about what it is, how that came about, and how you're helping folks with that.
I think there's a really big gap between athletes and people that are talented and represent opportunity for becoming sponsored and building partnerships with brands.
Hmm.
Actually, there's opportunity on both sides. There's opportunity for athlete managers to be even more effective at working with athletes and creators to do
Hmm.
more with them, right?
Hmm.
I think they're leaving a lot on the table when it comes to the
Right.
athlete roster that they have, and I think there's better ways to do it because I've been there and I've done that,
Yeah.
and I can, I've a lot of the consulting work I do is with brands that are trying to figure out like, all right, we have like 100 people that are ambassadors. What do we do? And it's like, okay, well, let's actually figure out how to best optimize your time so that you can actually give attention to the athletes that are returning for you, and then you can
Yeah.
also find a place to like continue working with the rest of them, but maybe like not put it on autopilot, but put them in a way that you're getting something out of them, but it's not taking as much time as you're putting into the elite
Right.
people.
Right. Right.
So that's the brand side. Like I think there's a really big opportunity for that. On the athlete side, I think that a lot of athletes don't really know how to talk to brands, and I think that they don't know how to present themselves. They don't know the conversation that's happening inside the brand. A lot of
Right.
athletes will go up to a team manager and pitch them their resume or pitch them a project or whatever. But what you don't know most of the time in that position is like, hey, there's actually like four more stakeholders that have a conversation after that conversation with the team manager. And if you don't understand what that conversation looks like, how could you ever hope to put and pitch something in to that brand in an appropriate way that's going to make it through that internal game of telephone? And
Right.
so, what if I put something together that gives you all the tools that you might need to go through this process with here's the, here's the one
Yeah.
sheet that you need to have. Here's the project pitch deck template that you need to have. Here's the framework that you need to understand about who you are and what you represent. I think a lot of athletes are just like, I'm great at riding bikes. I should be sponsored. And like, guess what? You're now competing against 100,000 other people that think they're
Yeah.
great at riding bikes versus what is the value proposition? Oh, super rider. I actually help people become confident with bike control. Like I'm talking to beginner and intermediate riders and trying to help them like grow within the sport of mountain biking through tutorial content and all these other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my value proposition. And so I'm going to find brands that are looking for that. And then I'm going to
Hmm.
talk to them about how I could tie in what they're doing with what I'm doing. And
Hmm.
it has nothing to do, like, notice that I haven't said anything about if I'm a good writer or not. It has
Right.
nothing to do with any of that. It
Because that's
has
not
to
the point.
do with this alignment, right?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people are missing out on some of the really basic stuff and also some of the more complex stuff. For example, if you are an athlete right now, it's September 4th when we're recording this. If you
Hmm.
haven't had at least one conversation with a sponsor that you want to have in 2026, you've probably missed your window. If
Yep.
you don't have it by the end of this month, you've definitely missed your window. If you think that sponsorship season starts in October, November,
Nope.
it's over. I'm sorry.
I
Maybe
mean,
if you get lucky, but like it's not happening.
some brands, May 30th.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Like,
gotta be having these conversations way earlier. But again, this is the internal conversation that a lot of people don't know.
right.
They don't know that brands are having these conversations that early to do all their budgeting and their business planning and stuff. And so
Yeah.
that's a lot of what Outdoor Brand Camp is just demystifying the process and really explaining it from the inside out. Say, hey, I know you're an athlete and you've got talent and you've got it. This is where you want to go. Let me
Hmm.
give you kind of the framework that you might want to rethink how you show up and how you present what you're doing and how you speak to the people. And here's some, things that resonated with me because, of course, at Red Bull Athlete Manager, like I've seen it. I've seen
Yeah.
every version of every proposal for every rider you could ever imagine. And the other side of it is that internally at Red Bull, I had to take that proposal and turn it around into a Red Bull proposal. And then I had to pitch that athlete up into Austria to get approval.
Wow.
And so, and I think that's pretty common where you talk to one person and then they have to turn around and basically become your, you know, they have to vouch for you. They have to become your brand, you know, your champion within the brand. And so, yeah, there's a lot to it
That's
that people don't see. And if you don't set those people up for success, then how could they ever?
agreed. And this is an incredible resource that you're going to provide for people. It really is. Thank you. Sorry, my computer was dying and I messaged my wife and I'm like, can you please bring me my charger? No, it's an incredible resource because you're right. Like I've been doing this for 3 years now. And it wasn't until late last year when I was trying to pitch to brands to help us that they were like, sorry, don't have budget. You need to be early next year. And I was like, oh, shoot. All right. Okay. Well, now I know. So it's an incredible resource that you're providing. Are there any specific like partnerships or events with Outdoor Brand Camp that you're excited to roll out? Or are you mainly just focusing on providing this resource for folks at certain locations? Is it going to be online? How's that going to work?
Yeah, it's a series of online courses right now, and I'm working on another course for people that are already sponsored athletes so that they can basically future-proof their career, how they can basically make the most out of the relationships that they already built and the sponsors they've already built. So for example, you know, one of the things that a lot of existing athletes don't do is quarterly or monthly recaps. Like if
Ooh,
you're a sponsored athlete, when was the last time you sent your sponsor a roll up of your social numbers for the last 3 months, you know, or a project result or any sort of detail on something that you did that they showed up in, right? So
yeah.
what are the things that you need to do? So I'm building in some stuff there too, where it's like, here's a project pitch deck. So you're already sponsored, but you want to try to get extra resources to do something really cool that involves the brand. Here's how to pitch that in. Or here is your quarterly recap deck. And here's the stuff that actually really matters for those people. Because most of the people at the brands are trying to get that information so that they can present it because
Yeah.
they do have to present that stuff. And so
Right.
they're pulling it off your Instagram or they're looking you up. They're having to do a lot of work. Well, if you're the athlete that shows up and is super prepared and is like just handing off quarterly reviews to your partners at the brands, I mean, yeah, that puts you in rarefied air.
You know what's interesting is, I do contracts for a few athletes and creators and stuff as well. And this kind of intersects with some of the things that I've been doing recently because contract negotiations are happening right now with a few of my athletes. And some brands have requested quarterly reports and media stuff and things that weren't there the year before, but are now, I think, becoming a little bit more pertinent to the brands. Like you said, for their internal, whatever. And one of the athletes is requesting more then. Okay, well, that's going to cost a little more. Like, I want to get a little bit more out of it because that's time for me when I'm not writing or I'm training and now I have to stop and do this or I have to hire someone to do it. And so it's really good because I'll be curious to learn from you with that as well because I'm doing a lot of negotiations right now with brands and for the athletes, and then that in and of itself would be very helpful. So that's really cool. Where can we find this information? Do you guys have a website already? You got all
Oh
the
yeah.
all the
Yeah.
socials, all the things?
Yeah, outdoorbrandcamp.com is the website, and the courses are on there ready to go. And then at the end of every course, I kind of offer up this clarity call where it's like, hey, you know, we went through a lot of information and there are like tasks and stuff that you have to do along the way through the digital course. But
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to get to the end, you're probably going to have like, okay, but I need to like really put these things together. Can you spend an hour with me just going through my very specific case? You know,
Yeah.
can you help me kind of integrate this knowledge into my program? I now understand the sponsorship stuff, but like, can we riff on this a little bit? You know,
Yeah. 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 That's
that's what I love
awesome.
to do. I mean, I love that part the most. I spent some time the other day with Ruby Lindquist. She's an incredible trail runner, but like her
Yeah.
thing is that she loves the fun part of trail running. So basically running downhill. And I was
It
like,
just
oh,
sounds dangerous,
right.
Aaron. That just sounds too dangerous for me.
Right. But she's like, "This is the part I love," and she had this clip on her Instagram. I'm like, "Oh, this is a reel." And like you could build your entire value proposition off of like only showing the fun parts of trail running and like this clip right here, if you did this in these 5 places and then built out a program where you did even more of this stuff, like you don't even need to compete. You can just like inspire people in such a cool way. You could
Yeah.
compete, but then when you compete, go find the downhill sections and film that, and boom, you got more
Mhm.
content. I just think like, yeah, when you find athletes that have that momentum, you can just kind of really help them identify it, and
Yeah.
that's always been something that I've really, really loved to kind of call out. I mean, when Rebecca crossed the kind of end point of Blood Road, the Ho Chi Minh Trail, I
Mhm.
remember sitting with her at lunch that day, big day. Been on the
Yeah.
road for like 30 days or whatever and just
Yeah.
crushing miles. And I remember saying like, "Hey, this is actually the beginning of the next step because from here on out, it's not about races, it's about storytelling." And she
Yeah.
kind of looked at me like, "Wow, what are you talking about?" No, I'm the, I'm gonna go win Leadville again or whatever. And I was like, "No,
Yeah.
no, like this storytelling thing is an inflection point, and you should lean into it."
Yeah.
Um, and then she did exactly that. She went and conquered Kilimanjaro, and she did all these other things, and yeah, I mean, she really leaned into the story side, and I think having a feature-length film probably really helped her see the light
Yeah.
on that, but how she's kinda shown up since then, I think has been a really important inflection point, and even, like, yeah, I don't know. I was texting with Kate Courtney after the Leadville win too, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see how people responded to you winning this race because it's not a World Cup, but like the story behind
Yeah.
why you were there and how you got there
Yeah.
and what you overcame to get there. Like that's what made it cool. It wasn't just a win for winning's sake. It was the story of
Yeah.
why you won.
And it's always about that story, right?
Mhm.
That's what people want. That's what inspires. That's what has people be like, F yeah, I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah.
Like you're 100% right because I just, oh, I can't even put into words how inspiring a lot of these women are to me. And I'm sitting here at my ripe age of 43 thinking I can do the same thing. But it's the story of how you got there, right? So like I'm still gonna do Mount Kilimanjaro on my bike next year. And I
Yes.
messaged Rebecca about it. And she gave me some really good advice. And um, it was basically comes down to elevation. Like you really have to do elevation training because it's 19,000 feet and it's not an easy thing to do. But you've got Rebecca Rush, who's like up here, and then you got me that's like down here in terms of athleticism, and she's just a beast in general. But it's the story. I want to tell that story. I want to tell the story of me having full ankle reconstruction surgery in a week and then a year later be climbing up Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
You
Such a
know what I
cool
mean?
story.
Like
Yeah. It
it's
just
the
adds. Yeah.
storytelling.
Yeah. And also,
That's what's so
like,
cool.
side note, how cool is mountain biking that you can contact the GOAT of endurance mountain bike racing? I mean, she is the best, the
I know.
gnarliest, she's won everything like multiple
I
times.
know.
Like
Yeah.
she's set all these records and I mean, she's amazing. And you can just reach out to her and she'll respond. Like, how cool is mountain biking?
Yeah.
Amazing.
100%. 100%. And the honor of being able to talk to some of these folks who are the GOAT, including Kate,
Mhm.
is just incredible. And her career is about to take off even more, I feel like posted child for the LA Olympics 2028. Like how freaking awesome is that?
So cool.
Um, it's incredible. So we completely digressed to some of the questions I had for you. But we did talk about some really incredible things because I usually like to keep this around an hour because, I don't want to take too much of your time. And I have a feeling this isn't going to be the last time you're going to be on the podcast. So
I'm just happy to be here. I'm down to jam as much as you want. Like you got more questions, let's do
I
it.
actually have a couple of I try and do this thing where we do rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So don't think too much, just answer. Okay, I'm going to ask a few. I mean, I
Okay.
have quite a few here, but we'll see how you go.
All right. Wish me
The
luck.
first one is like an easy one. Would you prefer a trail bike, a downhill bike, or trials bike?
Yeah, trials.
Yes, I
I
figured
mean,
that was like
I
an easy.
mean, I'm having a great time on my trails bike, especially on my trail bike this summer specifically. My daughter is really starting to kind of like click into mountain biking, which has been
Yes.
sort of my dream for a long time. And she grew up having Kate and Rebecca and Jill and everybody come through the house and like stay
Yeah.
and visit and hang out. And her wall in her room is all posters from all those women. I mean, I intentionally like wallpapered her thing with like inspirational stuff. And,
So good.
you know, the fact that this is like the summer that I finally feel like I kind of cracked the code a little bit with her. And,
Yeah.
um, you know, and all those women have been, texting inspiration to Violet and stuff. It's been really
Oh,
cool to do that. And so I've been riding my trail bike a lot, not so much on my trials bike. So I would love to be back on my trials bike a little bit more, but also like down to ride my trail bike a bunch to get my daughter kind of over that first
yeah.
hump where you really feel
Yeah.
like, oh, I know how to do this now.
Yeah.
It was pretty
What a better
slow
teacher.
going.
What a better teacher. I
I don't
mean,
know. I don't know if she understands that yet, but hopefully.
I'll talk to her. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, next one. Mountain or desert?
Mountain
Chamois or no chamois?
chamois
Clipless or flats?
flats all day, all day.
You're like the first person that says that, but I mean, you got the skills to do all the things you need to do.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I feel like the flat pedal thing too. It's like, well, if you can do stuff with flat pedals, then you could ride clipless pedals. But if you learn everything on clipless pedals and then you get to a bike that has flat pedals, it might get tricky, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I mean, I don't trust myself with clipless, so I'm a flat pedal rider
Yeah.
all day long. But maybe now that I'm getting a new ankle, I might be more confident on my ankles to where I could ride clipless.
Yeah. Yeah. I got those on my gravel bike. I got some of those magnetic pedals. Have you seen these?
Yes, they sent us some too. Those are pretty sick.
Yeah. I really like them, and I think I could ride them for my mountain bike, but I'm really afraid of using them on my mountain bike and having people being like, "Oh, well, it's because he's got special pedals that he can lift his back wheel so high in the air." And it's like, no, 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 no.
You know what? Who cares what people think? But I've ridden them and they're awesome. They have a few different varieties, different like thickness of the magnet too.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but there's always hate, Aaron. You're gonna get those
I,
keyboard warriors no matter
it's
what.
it's not even about hate. It's about I want people to understand that you can do this stuff. Like especially with the tutorial stuff, people are always looking for. I feel like they're looking for a way out.
Mm,
Um, I did this one video a long time ago where I took my daughter's bike. This is like, I mean, a very small pink bike. And I was
mhm,
like doing front wheel moves on it and back wheel moves on it. I'm like, see, it's not about the bike. You can do this on any bike. And the
right.
comments are all like, yeah, it's like an S Works. And I'm like, it's a toddler's bike. Like, no, it's not because it's like a specialized. I'm
Oh my
literally riding
god.
like a clapped out fork and, coaster brakes and doing all the same skills that I teach on my mountain bike to
Oh
show
my
you that
god.
it's not about the bike. I just feel like there's a lot of people that were sort of like looking for a way out of having to practice. And
Yeah.
so I feel like you can't give people a way out. You have to be like, look, I can do this on any bike, and so can you. It's not
Mhm.
about the bike. If I had 29-inch wheels or 27-inch wheels or had full
Yeah.
suspension or hardtail, it's really just about like committing to practicing for a couple minutes every day or before do this little thing in the parking lot before you go for the
Yeah.
ride or just try this, and
Yeah.
so it's yeah, I mean,
Dude.
I do a lot of post and ghost on social because there's plenty of people that have opinions on this stuff,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all you can really do is like, well, I'm trying to do my best here to help you out. I'm trying to offer up the clearest, most concise version of this information so that maybe you'll try it out. I can't help you if you don't want to learn it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's just people making excuses and deflecting for not wanting to put the work in. You
Mm.
know what? I think next year, have you ever been to the Sedona Mountain Bike Festival?
No, but I just heard it got moved to November.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finally.
It
Thank
was
God. Thank the
it was
sweet baby
always on
Jesus.
my birthday weekend, and I was like, I don't know. I don't want to like ditch my family on my birthday.
Well, bring your family with you, but now it's in November, which is amazing. So it'd be really cool. I just had this thought. You should enter the bunny hop competition. I'm serious.
I saw
Braden?
Braden crushed
Brynhurst
it.
won last year,
Yeah.
and the dude took a fall right at the end of one of the times that one of the sections he cleared it.
Mhm.
We were all like, because he landed on his shoulder.
Oof.
But the dude is a beast.
He's my
Like, he's
favorite
an
rider.
incredible rider.
Yeah.
He's coming on the pod in a couple of weeks. He's freaking awesome. And he won it last year. So that just made me think he's coming back for second time. I would love to see a Braden and Aaron bunny hop off thing happening at the
That
Spin Mountain Bike Festival.
that'd be fun. He's seriously like my favorite rider. I don't know if I could. I don't know. I think the highest I've gone and on a trials bike is 44 inches, and I think he went higher than that. So
I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But he did it on a mountain bike.
yeah. My trials bike is way different. I had a thing for a while there where I was side hopping my age, where I would like jump as high in inches as my age. It was like my birthday
Yeah.
tradition. And
Yeah.
then this year I turned 45, and I was like, well.
I think you should still give it a go. I honestly think you can do it. You're an amazing rider. Your skills are off the chain. Okay, we need to get back to this thing over here. Where am I at? Oh, best creative tool. Google Docs, paper, pen, or napkin scribbles.
Paper and pen. Can I show you this? This
Yeah.
is my notebook here. This is
There you
just
go.
loaded with like all my stuff and yeah, there's a lot of scribbles in here. That and also the notes app on my phone is like loaded with all the
Ooh.
scripts and ideas and stuff that I want to make, and also the stickies. I feel like I have stuff in like 5 different places.
Dude,
Um,
if I show you this book, you're gonna flip out. Hold on. Let me see if I've got one here that I can show you. This one probably has more. See?
whoa, color coded?
And that's nothing. Hold on. These are my law school books. I would get to class, and I remember the dean once came into the class. I think my con law book is over here. It has more. She goes, "That's some aggressive tabbing there, Mia." like, you know what? Whatever helps me get to what I need to get to quickly. But yeah, stickies and tabs are like the way to go.
Yeah, the sticky on my desktop of my computer, even the digital version, I mean, it's just loaded with stuff. And I don't know, maybe I'm a little like messy when it comes to that. I feel like I've got stuff everywhere, but it's just like whenever inspiration strikes, you just throw it on a sticky note or you put it somewhere, and then you can at least come back to it, you know? Like I feel
Yeah.
like your brain to your pen somehow, like that feels like the strongest, like, well, if I wrote it down, I'll probably do it.
Yeah, retain it. For me, it's like you retain it a little bit more too if you write it down versus like verbally voice recorded or anything. All right, favorite piece of content you've worked on. Go.
There's a film called Any One of Us that
Mhm.
is Paul Bascodia. It was he had a spinal cord injury at Rampage, and I was sort of like assigned to be his like contact at Red Bull. And Paul and I went way back before he was ever a Red Bull athlete. Before I worked at Red Bull, like we knew each other from my earliest days, way back. And
Mhm.
so it was kind of like I raised my hand right away, like I'll be his guy. And like Red Bull obviously wanted to keep an eye on his, progress and
Yeah.
help out however they could. And they, I can't go into all the details, but they did a lot to help him get back on his feet. And
Yeah.
I got to be kind of the person who administered a lot of that stuff. And so when I was in his hospital room with him, I saw him with this camera. He was filming all kinds of stuff in the hotel or in the hospital room. I was like, what are you gonna do about or what are you gonna do with all this footage? And he's like, I don't know. I might like put a YouTube video or something together and just like documenting it for my own stuff. I just got this camera. And I was like,
Hmm.
hold on a second. And so he and I actually, when he got out of the hospital, we went to Red Bull's office and we pitched Red Bull Media House on a story about his recovery. And we didn't know exactly like how it was going to go. But one of the things that was really important about that era was there wasn't a lot of information about how to deal with a spinal cord injury. And he was having to do a lot of work to like dig through forums and try to find like what happens next.
Mhm.
What should I be thinking about? What should I be looking at? What should I expect? And building relationships with other people who had similar injuries.
Mhm.
And a spinal cord injury can happen to anybody. It's not just like free ride mountain bikers, but you could get hit by a car, you could fall off a roof,
Right.
you'd be surfing and hit your head. What there's
Yeah.
almost too many, but anyway,
Mhm.
we decided that this film could be like a field guide for people that were going through, either as the person who had the injury or the people that were supporting them, as a way to see how things were. And so any
Yeah.
one of us was this film that you see Paul's journey, but you also we had this team called the Chorus. So we had like 8 people who all had spinal cord injuries speaking about their stories. And those stories were like in line with Paul's story as it was advancing. So you could get a little bit more context and depth of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, that film
Awesome.
I'm super, super proud of. It ended up winning an Emmy, which is right there on my wall.
Wow. What?
And then HBO ended up buying it. So it's on HBO if you want to watch. It's
I
obviously,
think I've seen it.
yeah, it's pretty
I think I've
heavy.
100% seen it because I remember seeing a scene with him getting back on the bike and it was an e-bike.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean that's like he was never going to ride bikes again, and then
Yeah.
e-bikes basically came into. I mean, that was about the time that e-bikes kind of showed up on the scene, and now he can
Yeah.
ride again. Like
Because that's what struck out to me. I was like, holy shit, this guy can ride his bike and that's freaking awesome.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah.
amazing to watch. I mean, it's been I think over a decade now, but yeah, it's just incredible to watch his sort of comeback and everything. I'm
Yeah.
super proud of just being able to be a part of his story and his journey, and yeah, to have a hand in the film and to have a credit in the film or whatever is cool. But like
That's so awesome.
to see your friend basically come back from something so gnarly and
Yeah.
face it like head on, it's really impressive and inspiring. So proud of that
Yeah.
one.
I had Kelly Brush Davidson on the pod last month. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but she also had a spinal cord injury in her early 20s. And she was a D1 athlete. But it was a similar story of like she's like, okay, this is just another thing. I'm still going to continue to be an athlete. I'm still going to push through all of this. And now she had founded the Kelly Brush Foundation, and they give scholarships and funding and grants to folks, kids, everyone who has this disability but can't afford to get the equipment of what they want to do. And I think she told me they've just passed 3,000 grants that they have done
Wow.
to give people that. So again, the story, right? It's the story of these folks that are just so resilient. One brand you'd love to collaborate with next?
Hmm.
Do, 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 do.
Well, it would be really fun to go back and work with Red Bull again in a different capacity. And we've
Mhm.
had plenty of conversations. I don't need to be a Red Bull athlete or anything like that, but it would be fun to collaborate on a different level.
Okay.
It was just over in China, and I met with the global marketing team from BYD. BYD is like the largest
Ooh.
electric car company in the world, bigger than Tesla, and they make some
Wow.
really, really awesome vehicles that have like crazy tech where, they have a battery, like their battery can charge from 0 to 100% in 5 minutes. It's insane. Like this.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. So like thinking
What's
about,
the range? Now I'm an EV nerd. Now I want to ask you all the things.
oh, it's, yeah, like that car that I drove in the water, that was from BYD as well. The range is like 400 miles. Like it's legit.
I'm
Um,
coming to China with you. Okay, keep
yeah.
going.
Like this is my thing though. Like I want to explore all over China, but this is the vehicle I want to use to do it.
Yeah. Do they have the infrastructure? I mean, if they're making all of this, they must, right?
Yeah, actually it's like most cars I've seen in China are actually already electric. Like they're already switched over.
That's
They
awesome.
have, if you go in China, there's actually you get different license plates based on if you have an electric or a
Yeah.
gas car. And so you see how many electric cars are out there on the road. It's funny because there's like 50 plus car companies that are making EV. And
That's
a lot of
crazy.
the car companies now are actually like they were originally cell phone companies. Like there's a Huawei
Hmm.
car, there's a Xiaomi car, like there's all these different whatever. And actually BYD started off, their business was making batteries for Motorola phones. And then
Oh,
that turned into
interesting.
making batteries for cars, and then it turned into making their own cars, and then
Yeah.
making cargo, and they have a like their global headquarters is massive. It's got its own monorail, which they also made. Um,
What?
It's so wild over there. I can't even begin to. Yeah.
Well, I saw your video. If you guys are listening still, go watch Aaron's video on his last trip to Shenzhen. Shenzhen. I can never pronounce it. I'm so sorry for butchering that. Um, and it was really incredible. You also do point out the whole license plate thing. We have that in Australia as well, I think. But it's beautiful. Like the boss of the company that I work for, his family, half of his family, his son and his kids live in China, and he's always there. Like we're like, where's Hamid? Oh, he's in China. Lucky man. And so I was talking to him about you last week, and he said, yeah, China is just this incredible land that people just don't understand. The technology that you're seeing in China is incredible. So I want to go. Yeah, I've decided that I'm going to fit in your luggage when you go. Carry your bikes. Hey, I can set your bikes up.
Perfect.
I can learn to be a mechanic and set your bikes up.
Done deal. It's incredible over there, and yeah, I'm planning on quite a few trips over there next year to really. I want to really explore it. Like I want to do
Yeah.
enough stuff to help the community over there build up,
Hmm.
skills and put on events and stuff like that, and really help the mountain bike community come together
Yeah.
too. I feel like
Hmm.
that's the most important thing that we can do with what we know. But also, I think part of that comes down to like seeing the rest of the country, and I feel like
Yeah.
I've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah. And seeing other communities, right? If that's like your goal is ingraining yourself in these other communities. All right. So last one, Aaron. What's one thing people would never guess about you?
That's a good one.
Best for last.
Well, it's actually, I feel like if you've watched my YouTube channel, you probably already know this, but I actually have a 23-year-old son. And so that's
Yeah.
probably something most people like having the 9 and 11-year-olds that are getting into mountain biking now. It's one of those things, but 23-year-old son probably not a lot of people would guess. And we get that all the time. Like, are you guys brothers or whatever? Um, it's been
That's
really
pretty
cool.
good.
Like last summer, we did a big mountain bike road trip together
Yeah.
across the country and stuff like that. So I guess if you watch the channel, you'd probably guess that already. But I feel like a lot of people wouldn't immediately jump to that expectation, I suppose. But
Yeah.
honestly, like it's been so rad. His entire life has been such a important thing for me in terms of like it's just this like constantly evolving lesson of
Hmm.
really like I don't know. There's so much to unpack, really, but just having someone this entire time where I had to, show up the entire time for, and also had to be, if you want to do the things that you want to do, you have to be really good at them. Otherwise, there's
Yeah.
no room for that in your life. And so it forced me to really prioritize and try to put things on. And also, like as a parent, you want to demonstrate success to your kids. You want to be inspirational in some way, shape, or form. And so
Yep.
I don't know. It's definitely like pushed me to my highest level of expression, execution, whatever you want to call it.
That's awesome. I've heard being a parent is a very rewarding thing in general. Uh, but I have god kids and nieces and nephews, and I love them to death, but I would not. No. But hey, we didn't even touch. Man, there's so much to unpack with you. We didn't even talk about the Second Nature podcast
Yeah.
that you co-founded with Dylan. Like that's you release a podcast every week, is that right? Every
Mhm.
week you guys have a new pod.
Yep.
You've been doing this for what, a year, 2 years?
About a year and a half now. Yeah, we're 120 episodes in. Yeah.
No big deal.
And it's just about like the business of the outdoor industry. So the cycling industry, running, trail running,
Yeah.
media, you know, and yeah, it's been a really fun opportunity to just meet new people. And I think that's the best part about podcasts, right? Like you can
Yeah.
put somebody on a podcast and ask them questions that you may not normally be able to ask them, and they have to answer.
Yeah, they
Um,
have to answer. I mean, you're
but
abiding by that rule with me, so
I think it's just like a really special thing to be able to learn, as a host, and I'm sure you've experienced this too. I learned so much from all the guests that we get on, and
yeah.
I'm specifically really trying to pull as much education out of the conversations because I feel like sort of the long con of second nature, if there is one, is like, can I help the industry grow and develop in a meaningful way so that things are easier or things are better? And can we use this level of cross pollination where I'm kind of putting my thumb on the scale with like what I saw at Red Bull. I would love to see the outdoor industry do. And so I'm
Yeah.
bringing people in. I'm like, can you just louder for the people in the back? Do it like
Hmm.
this. That's really like the essence of maybe the why of what we're doing.
Yeah, I really enjoy your pod. You have some really interesting guests from various different backgrounds too. Like I know you had Mel Strong on there. I'm a
Legend.
huge fan
Yeah.
of Mel. Um Kate Courtney, you've had Rebecca Rush, like you've had so many people on there. People, please go and check out their pod, and if you haven't already, subscribe. They have some really insightful and great conversations, and it does encompass more than just mountain biking too. Like it encompasses the outdoor industry as a whole, which is very informative in and of itself. And that's just the tiny little scribble of Second Nature podcast. I'm so sorry we are running out of time, but before we wrap up, and I know we've touched on this, what's something that's coming your way that you're really excited about, whether that's like Super Rider, Second Nature, or Outdoor Brand Camp?
I think it's got to be all the super rare stuff that's kind of unlocking for next year. I feel like we
Yeah,
really, like I said, we scratched the surface with China this year. I'm seeing a lot of brands get really excited about it too, which is really cool. Like I did not actually expect that one.
yeah,
I I don't know. I don't know how serious brands sometimes can be about like international expansion, and a lot of the
mhm,
teams here are focused on North America, and so like I was even a little reticent to present this other thing that I've been working on, but every time I bring it up, I'm like surprised at how open they are to exploring marketing in another country. So I feel like emerging markets and stuff like that has always kind of been off the table or not interesting to brands. And
yeah,
now I'm starting to see it pop up even more, which is great because it's congruent to what I'm doing. And going back to our earlier conversation, finding the things that you're doing that happen to be congruent to what the brands want and being able to put that
yeah,
together is like
yeah,
the perfect situation. And so I think if anything, it's like cool. I've been wanting to work with more brands and do more stuff and have more support so that I can do these things. And I'm gonna do this China stuff one way or the other. I would love to have some help
yeah,
and some, like I don't even think the brand support thing is even necessarily like a budgetary thing as it is like having more creative partners to
mhm,
help develop what I'm doing because so much of the content creator life is sort of solitary where I'm
yeah,
just like trying to put stuff out into the world and yeah, there's people that are watching it and giving me feedback and that's really important and great and that's how the whole thing works. But having a couple people at brands be like, "Hey, we've been thinking about this thing, and maybe you could tie that in," or "Hey, what if we open this door for you that you didn't have access to before?" Like that's the kind of stuff that actually really matters. And
yeah,
going back to what we were saying about Red Bull too, like the most valuable stuff wasn't necessarily the money; it was the connections, it was the open doors, it was the
mhm,
creative discussions, it was all that extra 1%. And
yeah.
if I can get some extra 1% from a few people along the way, that'd be pretty great.
Yeah, that's incredible. I can't wait to see what comes out of this, dude. I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for you. I want to get photos and videos and all the text to continue when you're out there because I just want to live vicariously through you up there. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm like I just hope it all comes through, it all comes down to execution. Like, can we pull it off, And, that's the real stress. It's not anything other than like, can we actually do it
Yeah.
to what's in my brain? Like, it has to come out to look like that, and
Yeah.
so far so good, and I just gotta make sure that continues.
And I mean, you've created so much as it is. Like, look at everything you've put together that came out of your ideas and that you've executed so well, starting back when you were in college and doing your trials bike with your buddy filming videos. Like, dude, you spend hours on your VHS watching frame by frame, learning something. Like, you're a determined human being. And I'm very honored to call you my friend. And I cannot wait to see this take off for you in the next year. It's going to be incredible.
Thank you. I mean, I hope this is helpful for other people. I hope it's useful or at least entertaining.
I
That's
think
it.
it'll be
Like,
both.
yeah. Like, what's the point of doing all this stuff if it's not valuable to someone else, Like, I'm having a
Yeah.
great time doing this stuff, but I really truly want it to be valuable to somebody other than me. And so that's why I'm putting the time into all those tutorials because
Yeah.
I feel like I spent so much time, you know, learning those things over months and months and months. And if I could distill that down into something that someone can be like, oh, that was the piece I needed, you know?
Yeah. 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 It's
It's all
incredible.
worth it. Yeah.
And you're a great teacher. And that's what it comes down to as well, is the fact that you can teach. Not a lot of people can teach.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mariana. She just came on and said, this was interesting and entertaining. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to us. Have a great night, everyone. This will be going on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and obviously YouTube tomorrow. So if you're listening, watch out for that. And I'm going to put all of Aaron's information, all of his social stuff, all the websites in the show notes so you can find him, contact him, and maybe even find the Slack channel that he started. That's absolutely incredible. So yeah, have a great night, Aaron. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. An absolute honor. Really stoked to be here.
See you soon.